Welcome to our channel, Heart to Heart SA, with myself, Michelle Turler, and my good friend, Suri Smith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in again. Today, we have a very awesome topic that we want to discuss, and we are going to be talking about loving unconditionally.
This is quite a great topic, and as I was going through my notes, I realized that it fits in so beautifully with our previous episode, episode 2. And for any of you out there who enjoy our episodes, please remember to subscribe to our channel, ring the little notification bell, and like this video. And please leave us your comments. We'd love to have a little feedback from you. So, Suri, without further ado, let's jump into our topic, to love unconditionally. I said that to someone this morning, that's our topic, and she said, wow, does that even exist in today's life? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Does it? Do we even know what that means? So what's your take, Suri?
Well, my take is I think the world is filled with a lot of brokenness at this point in time, and it's very difficult to love unconditionally if you are coming from a broken place. So
Yeah.
yes, it's a very difficult thing to ask yourself, how do I love unconditionally? How do I love my coworker unconditionally? How do I love an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife unconditionally? How do I love a friend unconditionally, or even an enemy? So it's a broad
Yeah.
spectrum of, but let's go to the word. Romans 12, verse 9 to 12 says, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another above yourselves. So once again, it's laying yourself down for someone else. It's choosing to see the good in someone as opposed to looking at someone and just seeing fault in that person. It is not expecting of someone else what you would normally do. So that is a lesson that I was also taught, a little while back. I asked God to deal with my heart because my mom, when she was still alive, she used to say to me an Afrikaans saying that says, Moenie laat mense jou bitter maak nie, my kind. In other words, don't let people create bitterness in your heart, because it can happen very, very easily. We put trust in someone. We have this idea of how they should be loving us. And if they don't meet that standard, we feel like we are being betrayed. And then it's easy to have like a broken trust syndrome. I want to call it that, where you struggle to love that person. What is your take on it,
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes, no, I agree with you fully, Suri, that it's so true how we set these standards, and I think we also often, if we give in a certain way or love in a certain way, and we find this so often within relationships or marriages, when one does counseling with people, you'll hear the one party say, oh, but I do all these things and I'm expecting this in return. And so we expect people to treat us the way we might treat them, and that's not really fair because we're all different. And so I think, and the reason I also said it ties in so nicely with the previous episode, which was about laying ourselves down, is that to love unconditionally is exactly that. And I actually looked up, let's just look at what the dictionary says, the meaning of unconditional love. So it says here, unconditional love is love that is freely offered without strings attached. It's not based on what someone else does for you in return, but simply on wanting their happiness. And I think this is it's so important to talk about this because, again, I say in today's world and the culture we're in, it's so centralized and focused on don't do something if someone else can't do it back for you. Don't give of yourself if there's no reward in it. And I mean, the word of God speaks of the exact opposite. Just another, a quick definition of the word unconditional. It's not limited by conditions, it's absolute. It's not conditional or limited, it's absolute and unqualified, and it's complete and not restricted in any way. So I must think about like friendships. I often also hear, even with young people today, oh, I don't want to be that person's friend anymore because I did this for them, but they won't do this back for me. And we hear parents telling the children, oh, well, if that friend of yours is not going to, behave in this or that way, then just cut them off. Then you don't need to be her friend anymore. And I think that's so wrong to teach our children that. But that's because, and like you said, it comes from a place of hurt. So we've become protective and we don't want to give of ourselves so freely. And it's quite sad because I've found, I'm sorry, I'm going on for so long now, but I've found the more you're giving of yourself, the more you are willing to lay yourself down or be humble and not put yourself first, the greater your blessings become, the more peace you live in, the more joy you have. So God gives us these principles for our own good, ultimately.
Mm, mm. And you form such beautiful friendships and relationships that really do last a lifetime, if you love someone unconditionally. And, I've sat with a lot of people that unfortunately are living on the streets, and it's the saddest thing because that is what is missing, is that unconditional love. There's a lot of reasons why someone ends up in such a situation, but
Mm.
if you hug someone that's living on the street, or when I hug someone that's living on the street, I always find them holding on to that hug a little longer. You know what I mean? Because love really, it heals wounds, my friend. It heals wounds. So, okay, going to the
That's so
Bible,
true.
1 Corinthians 13, verse 4 to 8 says, what is love? Let's go to the Bible. Love
I've
is
also got that
patient.
one.
I knew you would. Love is patient and kind, does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices the truth. Love bears all
Sure.
things, believes all things, hopes in all things, endures all things, endures all things, my friend.
Yeah.
Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. So love is everlasting. It's unwavering. It is unconditional. It needs to be unconditional. And yeah, so how can you love unconditionally if you are broken? That is a question we need to try and answer today. How do you
Yeah.
love if you are broken? Me personally, I took it to God. I went to God, said to God, God, I am broken. I am broken. And God started dealing with me.
Broken.
And it took years, but he has made me whole. My biggest fear always was being alone. I never wanted to be alone without a husband or children or anything like that, because no one wants to grow alone, old alone. And
No.
I have experienced God's unconditional love in that sense, where He has honestly made me at peace at being alone. What He's also made me more aware of is how I love someone, how I love those around me. Am I
Yeah.
fully present when I'm around them? Am I always wanting to be somewhere else, or am I really truly spending that time with someone if I'm giving them quality time? The five languages of love. So we also got to
Yes.
find out what our friends and loved ones' love languages are. Do a little bit of effort, read a little, see what they love, what you need to do for them in order for them to feel loved. So the five love languages are, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is acts of kindness, it's gifts, like the gift of giving, it is
Yeah.
quality time, it's
Yeah.
physical touch, and it is, what is that other one?
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. Yes. So what would you say your love language is, Michelle?
Sure, that's a good question. I like the way though that it changes with your life. You know, I think as you grow and mature and change, one's love language also evolves. So I think I do thrive on quality time, and then also words of affirmation mean a lot to me. You know, that does. Gifts to me are always nice to receive, but that, yeah, it's kind of like I'd rather have you with me and spend time with me, you know. Yeah, and what are
That's
yours,
true.
Siri?
I would also say quality time, and I'm not so big on words of affirmation. Quality time and physical touch, I would say. Hugging and,
Okay.
being with someone, sitting next to someone on the couch and watching a movie or whatever. Uh, and
Yes.
that's another topic for another day is should Christians be doing that before marriage? Okay. But anyway, that's another topic. So
that
let's
is
get into
another
another
good topic.
Bible verse. No. Romans 5 verse 8 says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Christ died for
Yeah.
us. While we were still sinners, my friend.
So
So you
I
can go to
always
God in your broken state. You can go to God wherever you are at. You never have to feel like whatever you are going through is too big or too much of a sin that you cannot go to God and think to yourself, no, I've sinned so much, God will never forgive me, and I'll rather just not go there. God
yeah.
meets you at your broken state and he builds you back up. He builds you
Amen.
back up until you are whole and able to love fully.
Yes. No, fully. You're so right, Suri. And I also just want to say, when you said earlier, how do we love unconditionally in our brokenness? Immediately I thought, well, it has so much also to do with forgiveness. And forgiveness
Mm.
can also be a whole topic for a whole episode on its own. But I think, if you're unable to forgive, and I know immediately people are going, oh, but you don't understand, and what this person did to me is unforgivable, and I get that. I really get that. There are things that happen to people that are literally unforgivable, horrific things, and why should you forgive that person? And I'll tell you why. The reason is forgiveness sets you free 100%. It's got actually nothing to do with the other person, the person who committed this awful thing in your life. They just go on with life and they probably don't even think about you anymore. And in the meantime, you're holding on to this anger and this hatred and this bitterness. And the more you gather these unforgiveness like things towards different people in your life, obviously you're not going to be able to love, never mind love unconditionally. You're going to be so hurt, and that thing, it festers and it grows into something that actually makes you sick, you know
I
so
was
I
going to
think,
say that it makes you sick.
yeah.
Mm.
So I think one of the things, if you out there, one of our viewers today, are struggling and thinking, do I love unconditionally? Maybe not. Maybe the first place to begin is to say, is there someone in my life I haven't forgiven yet? Someone that I need to just set free? Because you're
Even if it's
setting.
yourself.
Yes, especially if it's yourself. I agree, that's so true. Because often we're
Mm.
crucifying ourselves. And I mean, the word says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So you will never be able to love another person if you can't start with loving who you are and who God made you to
Mm.
be, and say, you know what? I forgive you, Michelle. You are broken.
Mm.
You've done very bad things, but or I was the reason that relationship ended, or maybe you did something that really, really harmed another person, or you cheated on a partner. We all make mistakes, man. We've all been down those roads. You've got to forgive yourself and set yourself free from that, because you know what? Jesus did.
And turn
He
away from that
died.
sin and turn away, yeah. And turn away from
Yeah,
that sin.
no, of
Yes, you're right.
course.
Jesus died for our sins. Yeah. Sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting.
No, it's okay. I want to also just say another quick thing. I had this discussion a few years ago, many years ago, and this person said to me, "Do, I don't think God actually loves us with, unconditionally, because if you look throughout the Bible, God's always treated his people with a thing of saying, if you do this, then I will do that. So if you honor your mom and dad, then I will lengthen your days. If you do this, then I will do that." And then it hit me, and I just thought, no, you know, God, God loved us first, and there is absolutely nothing that we ever could do or ever will do that will change his love for us, because that's why he sent his son Jesus to die for our sins and pay for all those things that we were going to do 2,000, 3,000 years down the line. And that is unconditional love, because like God knew from the beginning of the time, that these people are going to turn their backs on me. These people are going to betray me. They're going to spit on me. They're going to crucify me and reject me, but I love them still. And the only requirement is for us to love them back. But it's not even really a condition. It's not a requirement. Like, God doesn't love us because we love him. He loves us anyway. So for us to receive that unconditional love, the only requirement is to just love him back. I mean, that's like
Mm.
amazing.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's very beautiful, my
Yeah.
friend. And it says here in 1 John 2, verse 6, whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. And that's exactly what you said. Jesus laid down his life for us so that we may be saved.
Yeah.
So, and that
Yeah.
is doing the same for someone else. If you see someone is struggling with something, or you know that someone's going through emotional turmoil, it's being that pillar of strength. It's being that source of hope and encouragement to that person, even if you may
Mm.
be feeling down yourself, or whatever it is. It's showing that form of love in a time of need as well, which I don't think a lot of people have the energy for nowadays, really. But yeah, it's coming to terms with, like you said, forgiving others, forgiving yourself, and yeah, being compromising
Yeah.
and being selfless, isn't it? Loving
Yeah.
is a selfless act. It really is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think another thing, Suri, is that love is, and we often confuse love with a feeling. And I've learned that love is more of a choice. It's a thing that you say, I choose in this moment that is not good and not nice and I'm not gaining anything right now. I nevertheless choose to continue to love this person. Someone asked me a few years ago as well. I had a friend, and it was quite a one-sided friendship. And someone in my life said, "Why are you still friends with this person? Like, what do you get out of it?" And I was like, "Nothing, maybe." But you know what? Maybe she needs a friend, and it's okay. Like, there's nothing in this friendship is harming me. I might not be gaining something amazing, but there's nothing harmful. So what am I? I've got nothing to lose here. But Suri, I also, before our session ends today, I want to mention that I also think there's a difference between giving of yourself and loving unconditionally when it becomes an abusive situation, or
I was
when
going
the
to say
when that
exactly the
friend
same.
Yeah,
If
because
there is
I've been
abuse,
in,
step away and love from a distance. You can still
yeah,
love that
and
person,
pray for
but from
that
a distance.
person.
And
Yeah,
pray, yes, yes. So never,
yeah,
ever, ever put yourself in a situation where you just take abuse or, you take hurt or anything like that for the namesake of love, for loving someone unconditionally. I totally agree with you,
yeah,
my friend. Totally agree with you.
yeah. Yeah, so just to sort of put that in perspective, I think loving unconditionally is when we are able to love other people without strings attached, without us always expecting something in return, but also knowing when you are being dragged into either a toxic or a dangerous or an abusive situation within that friendship or whatever, then it's okay to say, look, I'm not, do you know what I'm trying to say? You don't have to gain something always, but if it is destroying you, then you need to step away from that friendship. Yeah.
Absolutely, Michelle. And also it's also, I've actually lost my train of thought now. I was listening to what you said and I was thinking of what I wanted to also mention, but it has gone now. So let's rather just read one more Bible verse before we go.
Cool.
Uh, okay, so what do we have here? Oh, it's one that we actually read last week. So it says 1
I
John
also
4 verse
found,
7 says, Dear
yeah,
friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. I just remembered what I wanted to say. Often people expect others to do for them what they do for others. Does it make sense if I say it like that?
yeah,
Let's say you are someone that always gives someone words of affirmation and you're always building someone up and you always, if you know that that person has a big day coming up, you'll always like encourage them and, don't expect the same from someone else. And if they don't give it to you, don't get angry with someone because that person
yes.
sometimes don't know that that's, like we said, your love language, and you now think that person doesn't love you and you stop friendship or whatever because you feel like you're the only one giving love. I think a
Mm,
big form of unconditional love is actually giving someone the time to talk to them and to discuss things and to have an open friendship relationship where you can communicate, because communication is the only way you're going to be able to love someone unconditionally. If you see sometimes that your best friend is doing something wrong, it's not bad or anything like that to go to them and say in a loving way, you know what you are doing
mm.
maybe is not the right thing to be doing. Maybe we could find another way for you to do. And that's also a form of love. It's also a form
And
of
you've
love.
done, I must say, my friend, you've done that with me,
And
you've
you've
been
done it with
so,
me.
yeah, like you've been so, but it's you always you do it with so much grace and like you said, with so much love that you'll go, oh, okay, like I get you and I get why you're doing this, but if we're really honest, is this really what the Lord will be pleased with, kind of thing? And it's like, no, not at all. You're right, and I appreciate that so much, and I think that's something that has kept our friendship going through the years, is that we've been able to be honest and then also not just get offended and go, oh, you know what, I don't want to be your friend anymore because I don't
Mm,
like it when you confront me about things. Yeah,
exactly.
so thank you for that.
But thank you for being
No
such a
problem.
beautiful friend to me and loving me unconditionally. And I hope that everyone that listened today can find it within themselves to also, look within if there's someone you need to forgive. And yeah, try and every day take baby steps. Take baby steps if
Mm,
you need to forgive someone.
yes.
Sometimes it won't happen immediately. Sometimes you'll have to say a couple of times, I forgive that person. I forgive that person. I forgive that person. And you'll have to say it out loud. But you will in turn be releasing a lot of stuff within you. And yeah, that can make you free. It will set you free.
Exactly. So that brings us to the end of this episode, and it's always so nice to have these conversations. And we hope you guys enjoy the conversation too. And please suggest a few topics if you'd like us to chat about something specific. We'd love to hear from you guys. So have a lovely day, and thanks again, my friend, for chatting with me.
Thanks. Until next time, guys. Bye.